taking you through my experience doing the Annapurna Base Camp hike. You will get to know what to expect and what you will see along the way, including the food you will eat, the accommodation, and important things to take note of. I will also share checkpoints for each location. Feel free to ask any questions in the comments. I will do my best to answer them. Had access to some lounge at Changi Airport because of some credit card. The food was okay, but look at that kueh pie tea, that's my favorite. Stumbled upon this fish tank at Terminal 2. I thought horseshoe crabs are protected, so surprised to see it here. And look at it swimming past the hermit crab. They could be best friends. Anyone else feel that Singapore Airlines food is getting from bad to worse? Just look at this. What in the world is this box of mushy mess? And the shows too. Couldn't find any nice ones to watch. It was 12:45 AM. I've arrived at the Tribhuvan International Airport in Nepal. The flight was okay, as it was a pretty short trip from Singapore to Kathmandu. Heading from the airport to our hotel. It was the next morning. Look at that stunning morning view from our hotel. As we were there from late February to early March, it was the tail end of their winter season. Thus, it was pretty chilly. Be sure to bring a few extra clothes to stay warm if you decide to visit during this period. It was 8:55 AM. We set off from Kathmandu to Pokhara. There wasn't much to see along the way, but you'll get a glimpse of what a typical street in Nepal looks like. Their vehicles, residential houses, scenery, mountains and rivers. Let's see how long it took for us to reach Pokhara. We arrived at a rest stop. Looks interesting over there. Is that a wedding? Can anyone let me know in the comments? Please correct me if I'm wrong. This is one of Nepal's local dishes called dal bhat. I feel like it's similar to Indian food, just a bit blander, and over on the side, that's a lassi. Second half of the journey to Pokhara. We reached Pokhara at about 5:07 PM. It took us around 8 hours to get from Kathmandu to Pokhara. This is the beautiful Fiwa Lake at Pokhara. More bus ride from our hotel at Pokhara to the start of the ABC hike. Once you see this yellow bridge structure, you are almost there. Just a little more bus ride. And that's our mountain guide. I guess this was the start of the drive up the mountain. It was really bumpy. Your hike starts once you alight here. You'll see lots of vehicles parked along the sides, as well as many horses and donkeys passing by, probably transporting resources up the mountain. There's a mini-mart here too, so be sure to purchase the water you need, as it will be a long hike. It was day 1, 11:10 AM. Let's see how long it took us to reach the Annapurna Base Camp. They were our porters. 2 of us shared one porter, and we were so thankful to have them around. Not only did they help carry our belongings up the mountain, but they also provided us with laughter, guidance, and great companionship throughout the hike. Your mountain guide may not be around all the time, but you will definitely see your porters throughout your journey. All of them are also very experienced in hiking the mountains, so be sure to make good friends with them. This is the long metal bridge that I just crossed. You will see a few of these throughout your hike. It is a little intimidating to cross at first, but you will get used to it. This is the chow mein. It is one of the common dishes up the mountain. If it's not obvious enough, expect lots and lots of endless stairs. This is just the beginning of a pretty tough hike. You will also see lots of cute dogs at the start and middle of your hike. It was kinda cute because they followed and showed us the way while we were hiking. Anyone knows the species of these dogs? Let me know in the comments. Is that an orchid? Spotted these beautiful flowers. This is what a typical accommodation looks like. It's called a tea house. Sorry, I forgot to record what the toilet looks like, but you can see on the left in the video that there's usually a separate common shower and toilet area with a sink and mirror outside. This is what a typical room looks like. There are usually more than 2 beds in one room. I've heard that you can request to have a room to yourself or share it with strangers, depending on whether it's peak season, though there may be extra charges if you want the room to yourself. I didn't have any issues with this, as I shared rooms with people I knew throughout the hike. Towards the end of the video, I'll share, in my opinion, the best tea house, one that has only 2 beds in each room. Typically, there's a communal eating area in your accommodation like so. It can be pretty fun there, as it's a shared space where people eat, hang out, and chit-chat. You can also charge your phones and power banks here at a cost. This is the fried rice, another common dish up there. Towards the end of this video, I will show you how a typical menu looks like. The tea houses pretty much make the same dishes. This was my failed attempt to capture a time-lapse of the sunrise of my second day in the mountains. It was very cloudy and visibility of the mountains was poor, but you can still catch a glimpse of the Fishtail Mountain in the middle of the video. Another failed attempt at a time-lapse. Day 2 breakfast. You'll see lots of animal poop along the way from the start to the middle of your hike, which gradually becomes less as you go higher up the mountain. And this is a really huge one I spotted. It looks like a chocolate fudge cake, doesn't it? Just when I thought this was such a cute scene of a cat playing with a butterfly, the cat suddenly ate the butterfly. It was day 2, around 12 p.m., and I would say that this is the middle section of the hike. At this point, we had to trek through a forest section. We continued all the way to a place called Himalaya, which you'll see later in the video. The views here were decent, but the best scenery comes closer to the top of the hike. In my opinion, this forest section was the toughest. The climb was very steep, and the steps were extremely irregular, which made it much more challenging to climb. At 1:11 p.m., we arrived at a tea house called Bamboo, the place with the best room I mentioned earlier. We'll be stopping here again on our way down the mountain, and I'll show you the accommodation later in the video. I had fried rice for lunch, and at this point I was already starting to feel tired from the hike. Still, we had to push on and persevere to reach the base camp. Reached Doven at 3:30 p.m. We reached Himalaya at 5:45 p.m., and by this point, we were all extremely exhausted. We called it a day and rested there for the night. This is the Shin Ramen. A few said that this was the best food during the hike. It was day 3, and we set off at about 8:30 a.m. We reached the ABC on this day. Along the way, you'll see stunning views of the mountain range. I'll be showing some of these beautiful sights later in the video. The video doesn't do the mountain views justice. They are far more breathtaking in person. You have to experience it yourself. This was the first sign of snow on the ground. Doesn't the mountain range look like the logo on Evian water bottles? We reached Jurali at about 10 a.m. You'll come across a river. Take a moment to enjoy the soothing sounds of nature, the flowing water, and the stunning mountain views. We were reaching the Annapurna Base Camp. You can see it at the far end in the middle of the video. We reached Annapurna Base Camp at about 1:15 p.m. Some hikers choose to stop and head back from this point. However, I strongly recommend continuing on, as Annapurna Base Camp is only slightly further up. It was about 2 p.m. and I had dal bat for lunch. We continued hiking immediately after lunch. It started snowing heavily and we had limited visibility. There is a lake here, but it was completely hidden due to the snow, so be extra careful where you step and always stay on the trail or follow the visible footprints. This was my first time seeing falling snow, so I took a moment to really appreciate it. Listen to the sound of the falling snow hitting my glove. And we finally reached Annapurna Base Camp at about 5 p.m. We started hiking at 11 a.m. on day 1, so it took us a total of 54 hours to complete the hike. I felt a huge sense of accomplishment. I was panting heavily during this final stretch, and it was freezing. The temperature was around -5 degrees Celsius, and it dropped to about -20 degrees Celsius at night. By the time I reached the base camp, I was so exhausted that I could barely do anything. I just sat there, waited for dinner, and went straight to bed afterward. Unlike the previous days, when we could still shower with an unreliable heater, showering here isn't possible due to the risk of hypothermia if you do so. Also, do note that the only sources of heat available are blankets and kerosene stoves placed under tables insulated with blankets. The blankets are free, but you'll need to pay to use the kerosene heating. This heating is only available in the dining area. Once you leave to other places like the toilet or your room, there is no heating at all. So be sure to bring enough clothing to stay warm. This was the next morning when we caught the sunrise. My attempt to capture a time-lapse of the beautiful sunrise here. It was 9 a.m. when we set off down the mountain, taking in the beautiful scenery one last time. Because of the snow, the ground was very slippery, so we needed a pair of ice claws to prevent slipping. You also have the option to head down by horse or helicopter for an additional cost. As shown in the video, someone chose to take the helicopter. As mentioned earlier in the video, this is a typical tea house menu. The tea houses offer similar items, so take a moment to look through the options and their prices. As mentioned earlier in the video, this was the best accommodation so far, located at Bamboo. As you can see, the room was very tidy and clean, with only 2 beds in the shared room. Honestly, the spring roll was pretty good. Toward the bottom of the mountain, there was a hot spring. The hot spring was decent, but it took quite some time for us to get there by foot when we were already very exhausted. And we finally come to our last meal on the mountain. After that, we went back to Pokhara and visited this beautiful cafe. Got my matcha fix. After that, we went to Sarangkot in Pokhara to spend a day before heading to the airport. There are only a few shops there, and this restaurant served really good masala tea. We also visited the nearby Pachamukhi Ganesh temple. Ending the video here, I'm very grateful to have experienced this hiking trip with such a wonderful group of friends. I hope we cross paths again. This is my first video, so if you found it helpful, please give it a like.